Okay, let me tell you about my neighbor, Ben Carter. Ben always wanted a peaceful life, away from the city grind. After years of saving, he finally bought this nice house in a quiet suburban neighborhood out on the edge of town. Modest two-story, big backyard, seemed perfect. He wasn't super close with the neighbors, but everyone seemed friendly enough. Life was pretty uneventful until that morning. Ben was on his back patio, enjoying his coffee, birds chirping, nice breeze. He was admiring the flower beds he'd just planted, feeling pretty good about how things were shaping up. His backyard was his sanctuary, his escape. Little did he know, his peaceful morning was about to get blown to pieces. Suddenly, bam, loud banging on his front door. Ben frowned, startled. Wasn't expecting anyone. He walked to the door, peered through the peephole. Outside, a whole crew, like 5 people, in matching uniforms. Looked like security guards, badges, radios, the whole deal. Across their chests in big letters, HOA enforcement. Ben opened the door cautiously. "Can I help you?" he asked, confused and a little wary. The guy out front, tall, stocky, holding a clipboard, didn't waste time with pleasantries. "Mr. Carter," he announced, his voice sharp, "we're here from the HOA to address multiple violations on your property." Ben blinked. "I'm sorry, violations? What violations? I'm not even in an HOA." The guy's face didn't change. "According to our records, this property is within the Westwood HOA jurisdiction. You've had multiple notices about noncompliance. Today, we're taking enforcement action." Ben's confusion turned to irritation fast. "There's got to be a mistake," he said firmly. "I'm not in the HOA. My property isn't subject to your rules." Before he could say more, another uniformed person just brushed past him, right into his yard, holding a measuring tape. Ben watched, totally stunned, as the guy started inspecting his flower beds, scribbling notes. "Hey," Ben yelled, stepping onto the porch. "You can't just walk onto my property like that." The leader of the crew didn't even flinch. "We have the authority to enforce community regulations," he said flatly. "You've been warned." Ben's voice rose. "Warned about what? I moved in 3 months ago. I've never gotten any notices. This is trespassing." Ignoring him completely, the group just started dismantling things. One guy started taking apart the wooden fence bordering Ben's backyard. Another started yanking out the flowers Ben had just planted. The clipboard guy just stood there, barking orders, taking notes. Ben was in shock. "What the hell are you doing?" Ben shouted, rushing towards the guy tearing down his fence. "Stop this right now." The worker barely glanced at him. "Non-compliant fencing," he muttered. "Not HOA approved." Ben grabbed his phone, started recording. "I'm calling the police," he yelled. "You're trespassing and destroying my property." This time, the leader reacted. He stepped forward, holding up a hand like he was calming a child. "Mr. Carter, I suggest you calm down," he said, his voice dripping with condescension. "Interfering could result in legal repercussions. You're already facing fines." Ben gripped his phone tighter. "I don't care about your fake fines," he snapped. "You have no authority here. I'm not part of your HOA. This property isn't under your jurisdiction. Now get off my land." The guy actually smirked. "You can take it up with the board," he dismissed. "But right now, these violations are being corrected." Ben was seeing red. He kept recording. "Violations? What violations? My property is up to code. I haven't broken any laws." The guy didn't answer, just turned to his team. "Continue the work." Ben watched in horror as they systematically destroyed his backyard. Fence ripped out, flower beds ruined. Even the little shed in the corner got dismantled. "Non-compliant," they said. Feeling completely helpless, Ben dialed 911. He explained the situation, his voice shaking with anger. "There's a group here claiming to be from an HOA, trespassing and destroying my yard. I need help." The dispatcher wasn't much help. "Sorry, sir," she said. "Sounds like a civil matter. You should contact an attorney." Ben hung up, frustrated beyond belief. He turned back to the crew. "I've called the police," he shouted, hoping to scare them. Didn't faze them one bit. As the chaos continued, neighbors started coming out, drawn by the noise. They stood on the sidewalk, whispering, looking sympathetic. One elderly woman cautiously approached him. "What's going on, dear?" she asked. Ben gestured helplessly at the crew. "They're from the HOA," he said bitterly. "Apparently, my property violates their rules." The woman frowned. "But your house isn't even in the HOA." The previous owner opted out years ago. Everybody knows that. Ben's jaw clenched. Exactly. But they don't seem to care. She shook her head. This isn't right. You should fight them. Oh, I will, Ben said grimly. Finally, the HOA crew packed up, leaving behind a scene of total destruction. Ben stood in his ruined backyard, his mind racing. He didn't know how yet, but he was going to make them pay. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Ben sat in his wrecked backyard, just staring. His flower beds? Gone. Fence? Torn down. Shed? A pile of splintered wood. He was furious, but also just bewildered. How could this happen? In HOA, he wasn't even part of just rolls up and destroys his property? After stewing for a bit, he knew he had to get his ducks in a row. He went inside, grabbed a notebook, and started writing down everything. The uniforms, the badges, the clipboard guy acting like a general, how they ignored him, what time it was, what they destroyed, even what the neighbors said. Details mattered. If he was going to fight, he needed ammo. Next, he hit the laptop, looked up the Westwood Homeowners Association. Their website was slick, professional, full of talk about maintaining community standards and keeping the neighborhood desirable. Ben scoffed. Nothing desirable about trespassing thugs. He searched the site for anything about their jurisdiction, their boundaries. Found a map. And just like he thought, his house, right on the edge of the community, was clearly outside the HOA line. They didn't even pretend he was in their territory on their own map. He printed it out, circled his house in bright red marker. More evidence. Then he went online to the county assessor's website, pulled up his property records. Deed, title, scanned every line. No mention of the Westwood HOA anywhere. Confirmed. Legally, they had no connection to his property. But as he kept digging, he found something interesting. A few years back, there were local news articles about the Westwood HOA trying to expand their boundaries. They wanted to annex properties like his, probably for more dues money and control. But the proposal got shot down by residents. They knew his house wasn't included, yet they targeted him anyway. Why? Fueled by this discovery, Ben decided it was time for a face-to-face. The next morning, he drove to the HOA office. The receptionist, a young woman who looked bored out of her mind, greeted him. "Morning," she mumbled. "Help you?" Ben put his notebook and printouts on the counter. "I need to speak to someone in charge," he said, keeping his voice level. "Your enforcement team came to my property yesterday and destroyed my backyard. I want answers." Her eyes widened slightly. Do you have an appointment?" "No," Ben said flatly. "But considering your team committed vandalism on my property, I think someone can make time." She hesitated, made a quick call, then pointed down the hall. "Mr. Peterson, the head of the board, can see you now." Ben walked into Peterson's office. Middle-aged guy, sharp suit, looked like he thought he was hot stuff. Didn't stand, didn't offer a handshake. Just, "Mr. Carter, I presume? What can I do for you?" Condescending from the get-go. Ben didn't waste time. "Your team trespassed yesterday and destroyed my fence, flower beds, and shed. Why?" Peterson leaned back, looking completely unbothered. "Mr. Carter, your property falls within the Westwood HOA jurisdiction. You're required to comply with our regulations. Your backyard was in violation." Ben slammed the map down on the desk. "Wrong. My house is not in your jurisdiction. Never has been. Here's the map from your own website showing the boundary lines. My property is outside them. I also have my deed and title records, no mention of the HOA. So, Mr. Peterson, why did your team target my house?" Peterson's composure tightened just a fraction. "There seems to be some misunderstanding," he said smoothly. "I'll need to review this information." "A misunderstanding?" Ben shot back. "Your team destroyed my property based on rules that don't apply to me. This isn't a misunderstanding. It's harassment. It's illegal." Peterson sighed like Ben was being difficult. "The enforcement team acted on information provided. If there was an error, I'll ensure it's corrected." "An error?" Ben repeated, his voice rising despite himself. "You destroyed my yard. How are you going to correct that?" Peterson just waved him off. "Leave your information with the receptionist. We'll follow up once we've reviewed the situation." Ben knew a brush-off when he heard one. He gathered his papers, leaned over the desk. "I'll be expecting a response," he said coldly. "And trust me, if I don't get one, you'll be hearing from my lawyer." He turned and walked out. Driving home, Ben was furious but focused. The HOA wasn't going to admit fault unless forced. He needed a lawyer, now. That evening, he found Monica Evans online, a property attorney with good reviews for handling HOA disputes. He drafted an email detailing everything, attaching the videos, the map, the property records. He hit send, feeling a tiny spark of hope. The fight was far from over, but he was ready. The next morning, Ben got an email back from Monica Evans. She believed he had a strong case and wanted to meet. Finally, someone was in his corner. He felt a surge of relief. He spent the day gathering every scrap of evidence, security footage timestamps, detailed notes on the HOA team's actions, photos of the destroyed yard, his property records, the HOA map, everything. When he met Monica that afternoon, he felt prepared. She was sharp, no nonsense, and immediately put him at ease. "Mr. Carter," she said after reviewing everything, "the HOA didn't just overstep, they stomped all over the legal boundaries. This isn't just civil, trespassing, property damage. It's potential harassment too. If they've done this to you, chances are they've bullied others." Ben mentioned the news articles about the failed expansion attempt. Monica nodded thoughtfully. "That fits the pattern. Some HOAs get power-hungry, but we'll make it crystal clear your property is off-limits. We'll demand full compensation for the damages." "What's the next step?" Ben asked, feeling hopeful. "Formal demand letter," Monica said. "We lay out their violations, show our evidence, give them a chance to settle. If they refuse, we sue. Meanwhile," she added, "I'll start digging into their operations. See if there's a history of this kind of misconduct." Ben left her office feeling more confident than he had in days. Monica sent the demand letter the next morning. It was precise, outlining the HOA's illegal actions and demanding full reimbursement for the damages, legal fees, and an apology. They had 10 business days to respond. While waiting, Ben started cleaning up his backyard. He couldn't afford to fix everything yet, but clearing the rubble felt like taking back control. Neighbors stopped by, offering support. One older guy, Henry, revealed he'd been fined repeatedly for petty things like his garbage cans being out too long. "They think they run the world," Henry grumbled. "Glad someone's finally fighting back." Ben realized this fight wasn't just about his yard anymore. It was about standing up to bullies who thought they were above the law. The 10-day deadline passed. Monica got an email from the HOA. They denied everything, claimed their actions were justified, and refused any compensation. "They're doubling down," Monica told Ben, "trying to scare you off. But they underestimated you. Their case is weak." "So, what now?" Ben asked. "Now," Monica replied, a determined glint in her eye. "We take them to court. Trespassing, property damage, harassment. We'll seek punitive damages too, send a message this behavior won't fly." The lawsuit was filed. News spread like wildfire. Neighbors rallied around Ben, offering statements about their own negative experiences with the HOA. Henry even provided an affidavit about the HOA trying to enforce rules outside their boundaries before. The HOA, of course, fought back dirty. Hired expensive lawyers, spread misinformation, sent out a newsletter calling Ben uncooperative and a threat to the neighborhood. Ben was furious, but Monica kept him focused. Let them dig their own grave. The facts are on our side. As the court date neared, Monica uncovered more dirt. Subpoenaed HOA records revealed the board knew Ben's property was exempt, but targeted him anyway, assuming he wouldn't fight back. Internal emails showed them discussing it. The trial became a local spectacle. Reporters filled the courtroom. Ben testified, describing the raid, the feeling of violation. Monica presented the evidence flawlessly: the map, the deed, the videos, the internal emails. When Mr. Peterson, the HOA president, took the stand, Monica dismantled him, forced him to admit he knew Ben's property wasn't included. His arrogance crumbled under her questioning. The HOA's defense was flimsy. They couldn't justify their actions. By the time closing arguments finished, Ben felt cautiously optimistic. Monica's final statement hammered home the abuse of power and the need for accountability. After hours of deliberation, the jury came back. Guilty. Trespassing, property damage, harassment. The HOA was ordered to pay Ben full compensation, plus significant punitive damages. It was a massive win, not just for Ben, but for the whole community. The message was clear: HOAs aren't above the law. Ben had stood up to the bullies, and he had won. Hearing that verdict, guilty, it was like a dam broke inside me. All the stress, the anger, the sleepless nights, it just washed away in this wave of relief. The HOA had to pay for everything they destroyed, plus extra punitive damages to make sure they, and maybe other HOAs, thought twice before pulling a stunt like that again. Monica clapped me on the back. "You did it, Ben. You showed him." Leaving the courthouse felt surreal. Neighbors who'd been following the case cheered. Henry, the guy who'd testified for me, gave me a big handshake. You showed him, Ben. Neighborhood owes you one. I just wanted things back to normal, but normal felt different now. The win wasn't just the end of the fight. It felt like the start of something else. First things first, fixing the backyard. With the settlement money, I hired contractors. New fence, better than the old one. Rebuilt the shed. Replanted the flower beds, making them even nicer than before. Working out there, digging in the dirt, rebuilding, it felt good. Like I was reclaiming my space, healing the wound the HOA had inflicted. But it wasn't just about my yard. The trial had exposed the HOA's dirty laundry. People were talking. The smear campaign they ran against me? It backfired spectacularly once the truth came out in court. I started going to community meetings again, not to cause trouble, but just to be present, to talk to people. I shared my story, not to brag, but so others knew what happened and how to protect themselves. Turns out, my fight had lit a fire under a lot of people. With Henry's help, we started a petition demanding the resignation of the remaining board members, the ones who sat by while Peterson ran wild. We went door to door, explaining how the board had knowingly overstepped, violated trust. The response was incredible. People who'd been scared or indifferent before were signing up. By the end of the month, we had more than enough signatures to force a special election. Peterson had already resigned in disgrace after the trial verdict. Several other board members quit voluntarily once they saw the writing on the wall. The few who tried to hang on voted out decisively. A whole new board was elected, people who promised transparency and fairness. They actually offered me a spot on the new board. I laughed. Think I've had my fill of HOA politics for one lifetime. Thanks. But I did offer to help in other ways. I started a neighborhood watch, figuring better communication and looking out for each other was the best defense against future problems. I even set up an online forum for residents to share concerns and keep the new HOA accountable. The old HOA's lawyers tried one last desperate move, appealing the punitive damages. Monica assured me their chances were slim, but the thought of dragging it out longer was exhausting. Still, I told her if they want another fight, they'll get one. This isn't just about me anymore. Thankfully, the appeal was quickly dismissed. The original verdict stood. They had to pay every cent. That ruling, combined with the new board and the community pressure, really changed things. Other residents who'd been wrongly fined or harassed felt emboldened. Some pursued their own settlements with the now humbled HOA. My case became a symbol, a reminder that you can fight back. Life finally started to settle down. My backyard bloomed. The neighborhood felt lighter, friendlier. People actually talked to each other more. We even had a block party to celebrate, something that would have been unthinkable under the old regime. One evening, sitting on my back patio, glass of iced tea in hand, I was reflecting on the whole crazy year. The raid, the trial, the stress. It was tough, no doubt. But it was worth it. Just then, Henry walked over, holding a small envelope. "This is from all of us," he said, handing it to me. Inside was a handwritten card, signed by dozens of my neighbors. "Thank you for fighting for us," it read. "You're the reason this neighborhood is better today." I felt a lump in my throat. Reading those words, seeing all those names, that felt like the real victory. I hadn't just rebuilt my yard. I'd helped rebuild a community. And that felt pretty damn good. As I sat there watching the sunset, the flowers swaying, the world feeling calm again, I knew the fight was truly over. I had won, not just for myself, but for everyone.